The population has remained pretty steady in Westfield. It's surprising. People pass away or move out, but somebody else moves in. And we've been fortunate in the last 4 or 5 years of people coming in from out of state. They like Westfield, and they contribute a lot to Westfield.
And economically, and they don't need a
No.
lot of the service. School,
No,
they don't need police.
And a lot of them are
I mean, they need
homeschool, home businesses.
right, and they're wonderful. Yeah, it used to be a well-known fact that the reason the population is stabilized in Westfield is for every pregnant woman a man leaves town.
Is that why you left?
I had to go for a job.
Yeah, right.
The problem is in Westfield, you don't get a job unless your father dies.
Yeah.
There's just no jobs. But the Westfield, the village hires a lot of people. How many people do you have working over there? Quite
We've
a
got
few,
about
right?
55 working all together. That's street department, electric department, the office, wastewater, water plant. We, as you all know, that Jim Hamilton, our electric supervisor, retired in October, and we went out to advertise, and we got about 12 or 13 excellent applications, and they were from all over. We had one from Texas, we had one from Michigan, we had one from Wisconsin, we had several from New York State. But we were very fortunate. There was a gentleman by the name of Bill Boneberg, had lived in Westfield for 2.5 years. I'd never met him before. 38 years with Niagara Mohawk National Grid, and he's retiring and put in his application. He started out as a lineman with Niagara Mohawk and worked up into management. He was in charge of rebuilding the electric service when Erie County had the big ice storm a couple of years ago, and he applied, and we had a committee that reviewed all the applications, and they settled on him. So he went right to work for us. He retired December 31st and went to work for us January 3rd, I think it was.
Well, I talk to him every week. I usually do a lot of the communications for the Westfield Fire Department,
right.
And about half our calls that are fire calls that come in are lines down.
Yes.
The first thing you got to do is call the electrical department and have them shut it down so we can get near the lines.
That's right.
And real responsive. They are terrifically responsive.
They are. They're a good group. I had a lot of compliments on the windstorm we had, and also the snowstorm. The repair crews were right out. They did their job. We were very fortunate. We had Mayville came over and helped. We had them from Little Valley and Arcade.
Yeah,
were their crews and helped.
Of course, as you know, during that windstorm, a big tree went down right on my front yard.
Yeah, I know it did. Yeah,
and it tore through all the wires, knocked down 4 poles ultimately.
Yep.
And I can still remember there was a howling wind and a rain. All that night, these guys were up on the poles.
That's right.
Doing the work.
That's right.
I mean, it was just incredible. It wasn't. You wouldn't send your dog out on a night like that.
Did you go up one of those poles?
Never.
Me either.
I still remember back in the old days they had those little stepping hooks on them. You know?
Yeah, climbers.
You could climb up on them.
Yeah.
The kids would.
They still have. Well, now with the spikes. The guys still have to know how to use those.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, those things.
It's a safety measure, because if you have one person up in the bucket and something happens, they got to be able to climb up there and help.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've had a couple of tragedies in Westfield.
Yeah.
On those poles. They're old.
We're trying to. Our water plant is ancient. Our wastewater treatment plant is ancient. They all need upgrading. We've applied for grants for improvements in our water distribution and our wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant is 35 years old, and the life expectancy is like 30 years. So, motor burns out down there, you're in trouble. And the guys have been able to repair these motors all along, but they're getting to the point where it's like an automobile. If they get so old, you can't find parts for them. So we've applied for a grant. It's a low-interest loan plus a grant. So the way those work, we have to use the low-interest loan first, and then we get the grant.
Okay, we got a couple of calls. You want to take a call?
Sure.
Hey, good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to comment on something that was said on the program.
Okay.
That there's nothing said about the Supreme Court decision in favoring corporations. And the Buffalo News, in today's paper, has on the editorial page a big cartoon which essentially says that the Supreme Court has changed a statement that we are a government of the people, and they crossed out people and put corporations. Quite a satire on what happened on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, by the people, for the corporations.
Right.
It's very
Right.
sad. It's very scary because these guys now they're unlimited. They have huge amounts of funds, and they can just funnel them to the guy they want. Their boy in Congress now.
Well, it's been that way for years, but it hasn't been legal.
Yeah, right. Actually, Red's right, because they had other ways of diverting funds. They split it up into 1,000 little gifts or so forth, and they have already controlled Congress to a large degree. But now all the gloves are off. They can do whatever they want. And not just Congress, but New York State Legislature do the same thing. Vote for us, or else we'll bankroll your opponent, and you'll be out next year. Very simple.
Makes it sound almost like the large corporations own the Supreme Court.
Well, after that speech, maybe you should run for office, young man. But you make a good point.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing to survive our democracy.
That's right. Well, I expect them to take us off the air shortly because they'll have control, and they don't want anybody piping up about what's really going on around your nose. I tell you, it's scary, isn't it? Really scary.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I keep up the good work with your program.
Thank you very much. I'll try
All
to.
right.
Although
Yeah.
at this point, I feel like people just are not paying attention to what's happening to them. You've lost a lot of your liberties, and you're now going to lose a lot more, believe me, because these guys can control. They'll make the unions illegal. Just stand back.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Keep
Okay.
up the good work.
Well, thank you, friend.
You
And
bet.
send me a stamped envelope, self-addressed. I've got some nice gifts for you. Everybody calls in today. I'm in the mood to give you 2 Big Mac because it's Big Mac weather. And
All
also,
right.
I was going to give you $5 off twice over at the Lakeview, that beautiful little restaurant at the foot of the hill here in West. It's 2 restaurants, actually. It's got a fish restaurant, too, next to it. It's called the Docks.
Wonderful.
And,
Wonderful. All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, caller.
You betcha. Bye.
Mort, I can see somebody else is trying to get in there, too, but we'll wait for that. Back to Westfield and all small towns. Like Dunkirk has big problems with their water discharge.
Yes, they do. Yes,
they
they
have
do.
to shut down the beaches once in a while because they just throw raw crap right into the water.
Yeah.
Right into Lake Erie.
We're fortunate. Our personnel that work at the water plant have been there for years and years and years, and they do a bang-up job keeping the water potable.
Where do we get our water from?
Most of it comes out of Chautauqua Creek.
They pump it right up out of the creek, huh?
Yeah, we have a big reservoir.
Uh-huh.
The only time I'll take that back, the only time we pump out of the creek basically is during pressing season.
Yeah, they need
But
a lot
we have a
of
big
water.
reservoir across from the plant, and that's where the water
Up
comes
on
from.
Mount Baldy Road.
Yes, right.
Yeah, oh,
That's
that's
right.
beautiful. I see a great big plume of water coming out of that all the time. I always wondered what that was.
Well, that's to aerate it, and it takes
Uh-huh.
care of some of the bugs that are in the water.
Uh-huh.
you know.
Well, when I was a kid, we used to go up there and duck hunt. And
Yeah.
They allowed it back then.
Yeah, but they don't anymore.
Yeah, you can't even walk on it. There's
No.
a big sign says you'll be shot at sight, something like
Well, it
that.
isn't quite that bad.
But they have no trespassing.
There's a bald eagle nest up there. The
Is there
fellows,
really?
yeah, the fellows that work up there
Uh-huh.
watch it. They get their fish out of the reservoir and
Mm-hmm.
then eat it in a right out in front of the building there.